Bigmouth Bass by Grandma Reads. Grandma moved to a new house that had a pond in the backyard, and in this pond was a beautiful blue heron who was so vain he would stand around all day close to the water posing and looking at his reflection. The pond also had a crew of teenage ducks, a duck family with baby ducks, crabs, and various fish. One fish in particular, whose name was Bigmouth Bass, was well known for being the bully of the pond. He would say mean things to the other inhabitants of the pond. One day he jumped out of the water and yelled at the teenage ducks, "Hey, you teens, your mama lays fried eggs, ha ha ha." Well, that got those teenagers so mad they jumped in the water and tried to peck at Bigmouth, but he dived deep in the pond and laughed at them. "You can't catch me," came up in the bubbles from the bottom of the pond. Next day, Bigmouth saw the blue heron, and he swam over and said, "Rumor has it your mama's pink. Not that I would know, but just saying." And then he swam away. Well, the blue heron, who was very shy, even though very vain, was so embarrassed. Was the whole pond saying that his mom was a pink flamingo? He knew his mother was not a pink flamingo. His mom had blue feathers just like himself. But he was still upset that his pond mates might be making fun of him. And this went on for a long time because none of the animals in the pond could catch up with Bigmouth long enough to tell him that he wasn't funny, he was just plain mean. Like the time he told Mama Duck that she was such a bad mother, her babies would never learn how to swim. Then to scare the baby ducks out of the water, he swam beneath their feet and tried to grab their toes. Those poor baby ducks were so frightened they did not want to get back in the water. What a mean thing to do, Bigmouth. Well, as it happens with all bullies, one day they get a taste of their own medicine. Bigmouth was swimming along thinking up a new mean thing to do when he jumped for joy and was caught by a hawk who was much bigger than Bigmouth and flew him high in the air. Now, a fish out of water is not a happy fish, and Bigmouth was worried. Why him? Why did the hawk who came to the pond every day suddenly decide to pick on Bigmouth? Now it was Bigmouth's turn to know what it felt like to have mean things done to him, and he did not like it. He wished he'd had listened to Mama Duck when she asked him to be a nicer fish. He wished he could apologize to everyone he'd been mean to and swim happily in his pond. He said to the hawk, "Please, if you take me back to the water, I promise I will never be mean again." When the hawk heard this, he flew back down to the pond and asked Bigmouth to make a promise to never be mean or bully again, and Bigmouth did. Grandma wondered why the pond was suddenly so quiet. She asked the white crab, who lived under her house, what was going on. Well, the crab said that Mama Duck does not like her babies being frightened. She had a long talk with Bigmouth. She tried to get Bigmouth to behave, but he said things to her like, "You didn't have to," and "try and make me." He doesn't have respect for anyone. So she had a chat with the hawk, who liked to visit the pond. The hawk said he would catch Bigmouth and take him into the air, where Bigmouth could think over Mama Duck's words. Ever since the day that Bigmouth Bass made his promise to behave, the pond has been a happier place to live. Bigmouth sometimes still says mean things, but now he swims back and apologizes. The baby ducks can swim in the water and no one pulls at their feet. The teenage ducks can be teenagers and no one calls them names. And the blue heron is still vain and spends his time looking at himself in the water. The end.